It's time for us to have a conversation on parenting, and we have Biodun Odunukwe, a parent, teen coach, and family life practitioner whose knowledge and skills include neurolinguistics, programming, teen psychology, family life engineering, emotional intelligence, and much more. Today, she's here to talk about becoming a redefined parent. Such a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Yeah. So this conversation actually started last week.
I hear it was quite interesting the way we started. There was an acronym you talked about last week.
That's correct. ARIW.
Yeah. So today we're going to take it up from where you stopped last week, talking about redefining parenthood. So what is the focus today?
Yeah, the focus today is we're looking at the steps involved. You know, last week we looked at the components, but today we're looking at the steps. And why are we looking at the steps required in redefined parenting? Communication is a key factor. And we know that there is usually communication breakdown in a lot of homes, you know. So, and because as parents, we are encouraged to strive to become better for our parents, because for our children, because that's the ultimate. So we're looking at the steps, and one of the steps involves self-awareness of your parenting weakness. Okay. Many parents live in denial. When a lot of people live in denial. Some people are even aware of their weaknesses, but they don't want to do anything about it. You know, so, but we're saying that, as a matter of fact, when you're self-aware of your weakness, so what are you going to do about it? Now, being self-aware of your weakness involves you acknowledging that fact and saying, okay, you shouldn't focus on your perception of that weakness. Because if you look at the weakness as a failure, then you may become discouraged, you know. But if you look at it from a point of projection, that something can get, it's something that you can get better with, then that's fantastic.
Can I ask what the most common weaknesses, obvious weaknesses are for parents? Yeah,
it varies from parent to parent. It varies from home to home. For some people, it could be lack of control, lack of self-control. For some, it could be overindulgence. For some, it could be overestimation of your child's abilities or underestimation of your child's ability. So it's actually vary from parent to parent and from homes to homes.
Okay, so you mentioned the fact that you have 6 steps to redefining parenting.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about these 6 steps and see if we can break each of them down.
Okay, yeah. The first one, self-awareness of your parenting weakness. Now, the second one, you now focus on being determined to translate that weakness to strength, which is possible. Now, the third one, we look at learning from your child, because we need to actually learn from our child. We learn from our child, then we also look at creation of feedback time. Feedback time is very important in homes. You know, so
when you say feedback from the children on what I do for them or with them?
Yes, please. Feedback from the children on what you do for them, on what you do with them, on what you do about them, how they perceive it. You know, because if we have opportunity of getting these feedbacks from our children, it will help us also to know what areas we need to focus on and to make necessary adjustments. Sometimes we think we are on the same page with our children, but we are not really on the same page with them. So it is when you create that time, then you have opportunity of getting into their secret place, their inner space, and it gives you an idea on what to do.
Confide more
in you.
So we have 2 more steps to go.
Yes, humble yourself. Just remain humble. As a parent, you don't have to lord it over them all the time. So it's important for you to remain humble so that you can even get more information from them. And the last one, seek the right knowledge and guidance.
Wow. Okay, so let's take it from the top, number 1.
So now, I talked about self-awareness. Now, it is important for you to realize that, okay, your weakness is not a failure. It shouldn't be something you should be discouraged about. It's not a failure. It is just a feedback. It's a feedback, and you need to also look at it from a place of projection, not perception. Now, what I mean by that is that there are some weaknesses that we think that, okay, I'm like this, and I'm not going to change, and I cannot change. You know, there are people like that. Yeah. They know that there's something wrong with what they're doing, but they just feel that is how God created me. They forget about the fact that they have the potential, they have the ability to be able to make some adjustments. So you're looking at it from, because your perception may be based on wrong information.
Okay.
Or it could be your background or anything. It could be, I mean, based on wrong information. This is how my parents have been doing it, and that is how.
So
but you need to
have been
move.
doing it for decades.
For decades, so that is how.
Yeah.
For example, there's a man I came across recently, and we were having a discussion, a father, and he said, I can never go to my child's school. Wow. And he meant it. I can never go to my child's school. I said, why? I mean, the mom is there, and he's self-employed. So he actually has the time. But he has never been to his child's school.
Wow.
And he insists on that. You know, so and when I was discussing with him, he said, after all, my parents never went, my father never went to my school. Wow. So sometimes you wonder that, so in this century, people are still thinking like this.
So how do you disabuse the mind of such a person?
Now, that kind of person is a mindset thing. And that's why when you mentioned, asked me to mention the 6 steps, I said, seek the right knowledge. Now, if this person is open towards receiving the right knowledge, as time goes on, there is possibility of him having a change of mindset, a change of heart, you know, so for that kind of person.
Number 2.
Okay, I wanted to actually touch on the issue of the feedback from the children.
Okay.
So for instance, there was a time where I had cooked something,
yeah,
and I wasn't very happy with what I had cooked.
Okay.
And I offered it to the children,
yeah,
and for some reason they didn't finish it, you know. And obviously, mommy says you must finish your food. We say that all the time. No wastage. No wastage. Don't waste mommy's food. Don't, you know. And it was obvious they did not like it. But then they were a bit worried as to whether to tell me or not. I had already tasted this food, and I knew it wasn't 100%.
Oh.
So for parents that are watching right now,
yeah,
who don't take feedback from their children, what would you say?
Feedback is very important. It is very, very critical. I believe so much in feedback because it has helped me. There are times that I even, you know, we have a board in our sitting room, and we have a day for feedback. You know, and I said, okay, today is feedback day, it's family day, feedback day. What do you think I'm doing that you don't like? And they get excited.
Yeah.
They get excited. So like you have observed, you were not in denial of what you did. You knew that probably you were tired, or you just needed to get into the kitchen and get out. And you observed it. Another parent would not have observed that. Another parent would have just loaded it over the children and said, that's your food, finish it, and that's it. So it was a good thing that you did. I want to commend you for that. And I want, you know, our viewers to also emulate that. Now, we need to ensure that we are open so that we get some of these feedbacks. Now, the children would not be 100% right all the time. They would not. But you realize that from what you discuss with them, from what you get from them, there are a lot of truths there that you need to make use of and see how you're going to improve on yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we still have 5 more steps to go.
Yes.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to deal with the second one and perhaps roll it over to the next week. Okay. So let's talk about the second one.
Yeah. Now, the second one is a graduation from the first, which means that you must be determined. Now, we actually have to put this first 2 up because the major focus of redefining your parenting is because there's a method of parenting you're using. But the question is it really working? To what extent is it working? So are you going to continue on the same level and lose your children when you know that, I mean, you're not really getting the best, and they are not getting the best from you? So that is actually what's from this concept. So it's a graduation from the first, and the second one is saying that be determined. Unless you are determined to translate that weakness into a strength, you're not going anywhere. Now, I gave an example of myself. Sometimes, to some extent, I like to be vulnerable, you know, because one needs to be open to correction as well. Like I said, I believe so much in feedback. And about less than 2 weeks ago, I cited the example last week that my daughter, my 12-year-old daughter, said, "Mommy, when it comes to yelling, you improved so much last year in 2018.
Wow.
2019, and I was like, wow. It was a big blow on me. You know why it's a big blow? Because I love knowledge so much, so I'm open to knowledge, and I'm very voracious when it comes to attending conferences, doing courses. As I speak, I'm still running some courses to get better, you know. And I know that this issue of yelling is something I have learned about
And thought about
and talked about. However, I know that I need to increase my activity level, the effort I'm going to put into that. So I'm conscious, I'm determined, and I'm saying that, okay, for my daughter to still make the statement that I was better in that aspect last year than this year, it's a big blow. Yes. So I'm telling myself that, okay, because I ensure part of what I learn, I ensure that I take my parenting test regularly, maybe 3 months. Wow. I take my emotional intelligence test, maybe let's say in 3 months regularly. I take my conflict resolution tests regularly. I mean, to ensure that, to find out where I am and all of that. You know, so getting that feedback, I'm determined and I'm taking steps towards it. So taking steps towards that is actually
fantastic. You know, fantastic. That's a lot of work. A lot of work. Yeah.
Well, and we've learned quite a bit today, I have to say. Really? Thank you so much for coming to share with us.
Thank you.
Please come back.